Well, Times Now has also accessed inside details of the investigation. According to sources, all the angles are being investigated. We're also getting to know that Praveen was attacked at the back of his head, a modus operandi commonly used by one particular group in the past and by experienced criminals. Since Praveen was attacked from the back and chased for a short distance, the police are suspecting that the attackers had come from the road that leads to Ballare from the Kerala border. The road that leads to the Kerala border, in fact, is through a forest area and has no CCTV cameras, making it easy for the attackers to escape and very difficult for the police, of course, now to look into that particular stretch. Let's go across to my colleagues Neha and Deepak joining us with more details. To Neha first. Neha, according to the reports, and this is the inside track of the investigation, Praveen was attacked on the back of his head. Now we're also getting to know that the stretch that leads to the Kerala border is not, there is no surveillance of the CCTV camera on that particular stretch. So that's easy for the attackers, but how difficult is it going to be for the police?
Well, absolutely. You know, just yesterday we were at the very chicken shop where this incident actually took place, where Praveen was attacked, and just an overview of that area would tell you that one side of this road heads towards the Ballare town, where you have shops, where you have the police station, and where you have other establishments as well. And the other side, the side that actually heads towards Praveen's house, is the side that goes into a slight forest area, where you eventually reach the Karnataka Kerala border once you actually take that road down. And that particular stretch of road that even we've travelled on yesterday shows that there aren't any CCTV cameras in that area. You have trees on both sides, and also importantly that there are just one or two isolated houses in those villages over there. So now that of course the police is actually looking at this angle as well, of how easily possibly it could have been for these attackers to actually come down that road, attack him from the back of the head, and head right back down on that road with no trace of with no actual trace of their bike or their vehicle. Now let's come to the CCTV camera and what we also know so far. In fact, the police of course also now suggest that they could have possibly made a stop at one of the nearby establishments as well. That is an angle also that's being looked at, as to whether they made a stop. CCTV camera footage from those establishments around beyond the border possibly, that's also being scrutinized right now to see if at all they had made a stop. Then that would of course make the identification easy. But like you rightly mentioned, it is really going to be quite a tedious task over here, considering that a long stretch of road heading from Ballare town, where the incident took place, at least in the border, really did not have any major CCTV cameras.
Right. Neha, stay on with us. We also have Imran and Deepak on the broadcast. Before we go across to them, we have political reactions coming in on the announcement made by the Chief Minister of formation of the anti-terrorism squad. The Congress party has opposed anti-terror squad. Congress party believes these announcements are being made especially because elections are coming up in the state, and that it's not a military rule in the state of Karnataka.
It is not a government of military ruling. We have a lot of inquiry agencies, and all that agencies have worked very efficiently. They could break this incident which has happened right now, and there were a lot of incidents happened in the same area, as I know. No, because the Chief Minister...
All right, let's in fact directly go across to Deepak. Is joined by Karnataka Minister Mr. Sudhakar. Deepak, over to you.
Yes, I have Minister Sudhakar here with me. The BJP right now is facing a lot of backlash. Workers are resigning. There are leaders from the Yuva Morcha who are tendering their resignations and saying that, their own government is unable to protect them. And the family at this point in time as well is saying there are no arrests still done. What's the government doing? If you could give us some details.
See, first of all, our government regrets this incidents. We are going to take very stern action very shortly against those culprits who are behind this atrocious murder, barbaric murder. We are not going to tolerate any kind of violence of any sort. Our Honorable Chief Minister, even when he was a Home Minister, he has taken several actions on certain incidences, similar incidences. They have been all brought to the books, and we have taken action, not just by words, by actual action has been taken. Similarly, in this episode, it is very sorry and we feel so tragic about this incident, tragic incidents, because the person who has been deceased is a very, very innocent Karyakarta of BJP, and for no reason he has been barbarically murdered. And these kind of culprits, our Honorable Chief Minister has already formed 5 senior level headed committees, task forces, where they would nab this culprit in a very short time, and we will give justice to the bereaved family by bringing these culprits into the books. And regarding what Karyakartas were yesterday, it was an emotional outburst at the instance when they saw such body of an innocent person. For no reason he has been killed, and it is quite obvious for any Karyakarta to share that kind of solidarity with the family, and emotional outburst is quite common.
So what's
and
the
it is not
that
against the, it is not
your own Karyakarta, so
this
people
kind,
that incidents like this don't occur again?
No, this kind of a killing is not just limited to Mangalore or Karnataka. If you have seen, it's been going on in state after the state, and it is it is widespread in the country. So as a whole, as a nation as a whole, we should devise a system of identifying such agencies or such fundamental organizations who are behind this kind of a plot, who are behind this kind of executions or barbaric murders that have been going on in this country. And we should form a special task force also to get into this investigation. Not only investigation, we should also find out their pathways of how their strategies are, where the funding is coming from, and what is their modus operandi. And based on this, I think there should be a high-level task force, just like NIA what is there, especially for these brutal killings also. At the state and at the center, we should have a special task force, I feel.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's the word from the minister here, predominantly saying that overall the resignations coming in from the workers was an emotional one, and right now saying that the government is going to set up, a task force, and also looking at a separate agency of sorts, like the Chief Minister mentioned, which will look into activities of agencies and organizations that, do targeted organizational killings like this.
Right, absolutely. Now, Deepak, in that conversation, the minister said the anger is not against the party. Those are just sentiments of the workers that was witnessed on the streets and also through the resignations. But what is being done about it? We have in the past several times heard demands and, recommendations coming in to ban organizations, radical organizations.
Yes, this particular question was asked to the Chief Minister of Karnataka just about 15 minutes ago while he was addressing a press conference that, during the time of B.S. Yediyurappa, while he, of course, took charge as the Chief Minister here in Karnataka, at that point in time, while, Mr. Basuraj Bommai was the Home Minister, the issue of banning PFI or SDPI did come up. We should understand that the riots in Bengaluru that happened, the DJ Halli riots, there were several people who were from SDPI at that point in time. Several leaders from the BJP in the government did say that, they are responsible and, they will look at banning them. Now, today the Chief Minister went on to say that as far as banning, the organizations like this is concerned, this is under the purview of the centre, because the state banning them, in the past we've seen, the courts really overruling that particular decision of the state government. So they're saying all the reports of what's happening and the antecedents of organizations or parties like these are being sent to the centre, and overall action will be initiated very soon is what he said. The opposition, on the other hand, of course, as far as this aspect itself is concerned, the Congress in particular has said that the BJP is slowly feeding off parties like the SDPI and organizations like the PFI for overall, for the polarization agenda, and that's the reason they keep them on instead of actually taking action, and it's only superficial statements that are coming in. So right now the pressure is really on the government with incidents like this on on the rise, while they in fact make allegations against an organization or a party to really, walk the talk and,
Right.
tell the
state
people what
government
is the
is in
actions
talks,
that
according to the information that you're sharing with us, in talks with Centre as far as banning the organizations, radical organizations are concerned. Deepak, stay on with us. Before I go across to Imran, let's also listen to what the ADGP Law and Order had to say about the investigation.
We have already picked up 10 to 15% of questioning. The questioning is going on and we are examining several aspects. And once we are sure of something, then only we'll make any arrest in this case. We cannot reveal all the details right now. Okay, so since the case is sensitive, I have seen certain media posts. We are taking into account those things also. That I said that all the various angles are there. We are checking all the information. We are trying our best.
Well, the spotlight firmly is on the role of the radical groups, and with Karnataka Chief Minister telling Times Now that they are in talks with the centre to ban the PFI, at least in their state. Listen to some reactions that we have.
ಬಹಳ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಇದೊಂದು ಚುನಾವಣೆಯ ವಿಷಯವೂ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಮುಂದಿನ ಚುನಾವಣೆಯ ವಿಷಯವೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದಲ್ಲ. ಇದೊಂದು ಜಿಹಾದಿ ಮಾನಸಿಕತೆಯ ಉತ್ತರ ಭಾರತದಿಂದ ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಭಾರತ ತನಕ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರುವಂತ ಭಾರತವನ್ನ ಆಂತರಿಕವಾಗಿ ಧಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಆಂತರಿಕವಾಗಿ ಗಲಭೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಹುನ್ನಾರ ಇವತ್ತು ಜಿಹಾದಿ ಶಕ್ತಿಗಳ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಇವತ್ತು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಕನ್ನಯ್ಯನ ಹತ್ಯೆ ಆಗಿದ್ದು, ಆ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಕೇರಳದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರ ಹತ್ಯೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು, ಪಶ್ಚಿಮ ಬಂಗಾಳದಲ್ಲಿ ಹತ್ಯೆ ಆಗ್ತಿರೋದು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲದೂ ಕೂಡ ಸರಣಿ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದರ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆದ ಒಂದು ಘಟನೆಗಳು ನಡೆದಿದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ಬಳಸುವಂತ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯಾದ ಸಂಗತಿಗಳಿದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ನಂತರ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರಿಗೆ ಏನು ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಶಾಂತಿಯನ್ನ ಕಾಪಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಸೂಕ್ತ ಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕು, ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಮತೀಯವಾದಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ಭಾಷೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಮತ್ತು ಪೊಲೀಸರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಭಯ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಇದನ್ನ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಇದನ್ನ ಖಂಡಿತ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಂತದ ತನಿಖೆಗಳು ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಇದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಕೇರಳದ ಕೈವಾಡಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೈವಾಡಗಳಿದೆ ಅನ್ನತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಪೂರ್ಣ ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತನಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಗಳೇನು, ಪೂರ್ತಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಪೊಲೀಸರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಮುಕ್ತವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯದ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪೊಲೀಸರು ಇದನ್ನು ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸೂಕ್ತವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. ನಾವು ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರ ಪರವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜನತಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟುಕೊಡೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಏನೇ ಇದ್ರದ್ದು ಕ್ಷಣ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ತನಿಖೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಬದ್ಧ ಇದೆ, ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ.
All right, we have Mr. S. Prakash joining us on the phone line. Mr. S. Prakash, we just had Mr. Sudhakar, Karnataka Minister, on the broadcast live with us. He says the anger is not against the party. These are sentiments of the workers. That is, in fact, at this point of time being registered by them on the streets through protest and, of course, through the resignations as well. But what action is being taken in terms of the role of the radical groups that the Chief Minister himself specifically spoke about?
No, he has already said he will be constituting a separate force to handle the extremist forces. There needs to be very strong action on the ground against all these communal elements, fundamentalist elements, who are daring to murder at will of Hindu Karyakartas. If the government does not act strongly, certainly the Karyakartas will lose confidence, and the Chief Minister and the party is well aware of it, and no stone will be unturned to ensure safety of the Karyakartas. Not only that, to put down these communal forces once and for all.
Okay. Now, the Congress party doubts the intention. The Congress party believes this is just an election issue for the BJP.
It's very unfortunate. It is they who had bred all these elements. During Siddaramaya's regime, more than 20 Karyakartas were murdered. PFI and SDPI cases were withdrawn by Siddaramaya, and they allowed them to grow. And they in fact had alliances with them during the election. Today, when there is a tragic incident, instead of standing with the government, instead of standing with the bereaved family, they are trying to politicize it. I strongly deplore this.
All right, Mr. S. Prakash, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast with your views. The Congress party continues to attack